Morning all, and thank you for joining the Health Hub 2020 webinar. I'm Lucy. So I was previously head of events at WIRA, and I have recently become the program lead for two of our programs, one of which is the Health Hub. So today you're going to be hearing from Devika Wood, who's our head of acceleration and partnerships at WIRA, and then we'll be going on to an alumni panel, which will have Melinda, Nicci, founder and CEO of Baby to Body, Dr. Precious Lunga, co-founder and CEO of Baobab Circle, and James Flint, CEO and co-founder of Hospify. You'll all have the opportunity to ask either Devika or the panelists a question at the end, but you can start submitting your questions as of now. So there's a function on the right-hand corner of the screen which will have Q&A. So just submit your question there and who you'd like to ask your question. So first of all, I'm going to welcome Devika, who's going to explain to you a bit about what WIRA is and what the Health Hub program is, highlighting what the challenges are for the 2020 program. So over to you, Devika.
And hopefully we can use this time in the webinar to kind of answer your questions and give you information about what we do at WIRA and the Health Hub program that we're launching. So just in a nutshell, WIRA is a global leading accelerator. We've supported over 188 companies to scale the global startup ecosystem. We invest cash and business development support throughout the world in multiple locations in partnership with Telefonica and O2. We've created multiple hubs that offer our startups a really unique access to heads of state, corporate leaders and investors and entrepreneurs. The reason why WIRA is so great at what it does is that we have such a vast amount of expertise in our hubs, ranging from investors in residence, entrepreneurs in residence, some of our in-house business experts, both from the corporate side, but also from the entrepreneur world. So we kind of truly bridge that gap between the entrepreneur and corporate to help our startups really scale and develop their businesses. So a little bit about our partnership. So our partnership for the Health Hub is in partnership with Novartis, which is one of the world's largest, most successful pharmaceutical companies. We started our partnership in 2019, and we have had the luck and joy to do the partnership again this year, with a slight kind of nuance and change to what we did last year. So our call this year is really focused on looking at how we can help the NHS to be operationally efficient in two different areas. So first of all, one of our challenges that we're focusing on is looking at MS. So we're looking at a collaborative approach to clinical care decision making, but also looking at another challenge around heart failure patients and improving referral quality and treatment. Just a side note, and we'll be talking about this a bit more later, is we launched this call quite recently, only 2 weeks ago, and clearly it was launched amidst an awful, sad situation that is now becoming worse and progressing quite badly into the economy and the world that we're living in. So in light of that, we are going to be opening our call up to actually extend away from purely looking at two therapeutic areas, which were heart failure and MS. And we're actually going to be opening it up to therapeutic agnostic. So we're not going to be looking at those therapeutic areas solely. If you have solutions in those areas, please do still apply. But if you have solutions outside of those areas,
absolutely,
then please do still apply, because we are not just going to be focusing on heart failure and MS. The reason for this being that throughout this situation, and hopefully when we come out the other side and we all survive and come through in the way that we can through COVID, we want to try and support the NHS as best as we can and find solutions that will help the NHS in clinical diagnostic decision making. And with that in mind, we believe that we should be looking at the NHS structure as a whole and finding these digital solutions that can solve multiple problems. So yeah, that's a little bit from what we're doing. I'll now go on to kind of the panelists to talk about what they are, the questions about how their experience was. So I'll hand it back over. And after that, please feel free to ask us questions on the setup of the programme, our investment thesis, and any other questions that you may have.
Great, thank you, Devika. Can I now ask our panelists to turn on their cameras and join us? We've got Melinda Nicci, founder and CEO of Baby to Body, Dr. Precious Lunga, co-founder and CEO of Baobab Circle, and James Flint, co-founder and CEO of Hospify. So for the first question, you could say I'm going to ask you each to introduce yourself, give your 30-second elevator pitch, and also tell us a bit how you're navigating your company and your team during this critical time. Melinda, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us, which is in really unprecedented times. So my company is called Baby to Body, and we have an application for pregnant women and mothers. And essentially what we do is we help them with personalized health and well-being guidance right throughout their pregnancy and for 3 years afterwards. We've just recently launched a fertility product, so we're looking after women right through that whole experience of trying to conceive while they're pregnant and as a new mother, and it's never been really more important. So there's tons and tons of women all over the world that are really nervous about giving birth and also being pregnant with COVID around, and there's a lot of unanswered questions. A lot of people can't get to see their doctors, hospital appointments have been cancelled. So it's really amazing that we've been able to kind of expand what we do. We've added new content. We've actually launched some new features for the free users, because we're a freemium subscription service. Yeah, it's really, really rewarding to see so many women getting so much information and contact from us. We are expanding the business, and we're launching a post-reproductive phase product later in the year. But at the moment, we're all consumed with the pregnant and the new moms, because it's a massive need. So it's been really challenging for us. We're normally based in Wira. We've been there for a while, and the team really work around one big table. So we're often like, kind of bouncing ideas off each other. So we've had to kind of virtually do that now, obviously, over calls. And I find that it's got to be much more structured. Personally, I'm an extrovert. I'm finding it quite difficult not to have that kind of constant back and forth. But yeah, in the light of everything that's going on, we're still pretty lucky. So I keep reminding myself of that every single day. And I think the most important thing is I've been encouraging my team to maintain their fitness and their mental health through this by doing, giving them a checklist of things that they need to do, making sure that they're getting some fresh air every single day, exercising every day, drinking enough water, eating nutritious food, not too much alcohol, because I think everybody's going for the bottle, and also just maintaining kind of social contact and structuring time to do that. And then also I've been encouraging them to do a gratefulness diary, so all the things you're grateful for every day, so that we focus on the positives and not the negatives. I think that was it. Anyway, I'll go over to the next panelist.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Precious Lunga. It's, yeah, as Melinda said, it's a very, I guess, difficult time globally. I'm an epidemiologist, and so I'm also finding myself actually drawn into helping out with the response overall, so that infectious diseases expertise. And then, so what we do as a company, Baobab Circle, is we've created a health companion for people living with chronic health conditions. We're particularly focusing on diabetes and hypertension. And we actually use our platform to provide personalized health information, to also track data around sort of blood glucose, blood pressure, etc., as well as connecting users to a doctor if they actually need to. The challenges, I think, for us during this time has been the people that we are sort of our main primary users are the ones who are at most risk for adverse events with COVID-19. So we've actually been working over time to provide guidance around prevention, guidance around sort of home care, and really also keeping people positive, because I think in as much as anything, the anxiety that comes with having a pandemic is almost even greater than the actual pandemic itself when you look at the actual figures. And then in terms of what we're doing for the team, we're already divided. So some people in the UK, some people, because most of our service has been in East Africa actually to date. So we have some of our team actually in Kenya, some of our team are in Zimbabwe and in Uganda as well. So we're used to working so remotely. But what we've added on top of that is again just that support to keep people's spirits up, because it's a really anxious time for everyone, and at the same time there've been increased demands on what we should be providing with our service, because where we work, the health systems are even less prepared than in this country. Thanks. I'll pass you on to James.
James, sorry, we can't hear you.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I'll put a headset on and I can hear you better, but obviously you can't hear my microphone.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm James Flint. I'm the CEO of Hospify. So Hospify is a data compliant alternative to WhatsApp for clinicians and patients to use. It's pretty straightforward. It has a free version that's like Baby to Body. It's a freemium model. We give away a free version that is very like WhatsApp. You can download it and use it. It masks all your personal details and stores all the data in the phone. It can be used by anyone, and it just got sign off for the NHS apps library, which is really exciting because we're the first messaging app to have got a sign off by the NHS apps library. And then there's a paid version, which is how we make our money, which is called the Hub, and that turns the experience into something that's a bit more like Slack, but designed for healthcare and with the same sort of rigorous attention to data compliance. We have spent, a long time building this product, and it's been very, very slow going. We've been going for about 5 years. We joined Wira a couple of years ago. We were on the same cohort as Baobab Circle, and we joined them at a point where we were finding it really difficult to make headway into the NHS. And they gave us a lot of support, investor contacts, and also some cash, which helped us build out the paid version of our product. But we found it really difficult to get into the NHS and to make sales, but of course that's all suddenly changed in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I think that we're one of the people who are benefiting from COVID. We have a product that's useful. We had a lot of interest, interest in the product, and downloads have gone up by hundreds of times in the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've gone from not really being able to make a sale with the NHS tool to suddenly making a whole series of sales almost instantly, as people have been empowered on the ground to make decisions in a way that they haven't been before. We're finding we've just been signed off for whole regions. So we got signed off for the whole of Wales yesterday and for the whole of Devon a week or two ago. And we've rolled out some major trusts. So we've been working non-stop to keep up. I mean, it's not all roses. We are, the government has lifted the restrictions on data protection around WhatsApp. So obviously people are using WhatsApp anyway now, so that's an issue for us. And Microsoft Teams is rolling out across the NHS, and they're a big competitor of ours. So, we certainly, it's certainly, although things have been easier and it's been sort of transformational, and suddenly we're able to serve the NHS in a way that we haven't been before. It's not a done deal for us. We've still got a lot of work to do to make ourselves a viable concern. But I think what's exciting for us is that we sort of feel like that we've been knocking on the door of the NHS for a long, long time. And with the NHS Apps Library acceptance in February, and then this sort of the release of a lot of protocol that the COVID crisis has resulted in, has allowed us to suddenly kind of start providing our service in a way that we've never been able to before, for people to start trialing, at least, even if the longer term decisions have been delayed. So it's quite exciting. At the same time, it's difficult, and we're not really celebrating, because so many of our friends and cohorts and other startups that we know in other sectors are finding it really difficult. We found it difficult for very, very many years, and suddenly, this is a good time for us, but it's not a cause for celebration. We're finding it, painful to watch the economy, and a lot of our investors are being badly hurt. So it's close to home for us too. But what we have been able to do, fortunately, just close the funding round, so we have been able to bring on a bit of extra help. And one of the nice things that I've been in this position to do is actually hire some people and give some people a leg up from that point of view, which is really nice in the current climate where a lot of people are worried about their own personal situations. So that's good.
Great, thank you all. I hope that was interesting to all of our attendees, and some of the tips can be used to help you, navigate through this time. The next question is around why you decided to join the program and how the program has helped you in scaling your business. Melinda, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I had to go off mute. So we joined Wira in 2016, and at the time the health program was just starting. So it was the first year of the health program. So there were five of us, I think, and it was just kind of like quite an unknown. But I have to say that we found it like incredibly helpful to have a cohort of people who are all working on the same kind of issues around health and well-being and clinical guidance. So our conversations, as opposed to kind of regular conversations with a larger, more diverse cohort, were much more useful. There were a couple of other companies who had a similar kind of business model to us, who was going through the same kind of processes of understanding funnels and customer acquisition and conversion metrics and things like that. And that was really useful. And I think that just having the team at Wira there and helpful, and actually someone in kind of fighting your corner for you and making introductions, being able to talk through strategy, whether it's about going to market or partnerships, also fundraising. It's always really helpful to have kind of other people to bounce ideas off and to make introductions and to kind of just give you that extra support. So for us, it was quite pivotal in the business. We started off, I remember doing a pitch, we had 30,000 users. We've now got 1.5 million. And that was in the end of 2015 when we applied, and we got in 2016. And I think, as a sole entrepreneur, I don't have a co-founder. It's been amazing to have that team at Wira really backing me up, and even if it means I just need someone to talk to sometimes, but having those extra people around who you can rely on and who have your back and who really want you to do well has just been so important for me as a sole entrepreneur, but then also for my team. So the team knowing that other people are there that they can go to for advice as well has been really, really amazing. So I've been around for a little while, and I can honestly say that joining Wira was one of the best decisions I made. I was very reticent before because I really didn't know, and also the health program was in its infancy, but it's really been incredible, and it's been amazing. I've met unbelievable people, got some incredible friends, and yeah, and now we need them all. So it's I would really recommend it.
Thank you, Mel.
Yeah. So, at Baobab Circle, we joined in 2018, and I would say actually, if we hadn't joined, we probably wouldn't have been able to sort of raise the money that we need to raise as quickly as we did, as well as funding. There was, we had training on how to put together a funding round. When we, when we're negotiating with the VCs, the Wira team were there looking at the contracts with us, helping us sort of negotiate out through the terms that, to sort of make sure that we had the best deal for the, for the entrepreneurs. And, as Mel said, actually connecting to the other cohort as well. The rest of the cohort has been really helpful, and I've maintained that connection, which has really helps through difficult times of being able to share where we are as a startup, contacts, and also ideas around how framing our value proposition. There's so much that I personally gained myself, and I know that the team gained from being part of the program. We went from having an idea around the product to actually really being able to work through what it needs to actually build a business, and having that differentiation amongst the competition. I would say, there was so much available in terms of resources and information and talks. I think for me anyway, the first sort of couple of months, I felt, there was sort of running around trying to catch up on that, as well as, attending to the work of the business, setting that up. I would say once I was really clear, and having the one-to-one conversations with the Wira team really helped in terms of, what are our milestones, what are we trying to achieve. That really helps of identify which resources to use, which talks to attend and which ones to, were sort of nice to have. If I had more time, I would attend. And to really also sort of look at sort of resilience, I would say it's been really helpful. Even during this time, the Wira team has reached out with tips on how to manage the business during and navigate through the disruption of COVID-19. So for me, even though we sort of finished our year as part of the health, I still reach out, and the Wira team are always super responsive. So I remain really appreciative of that.
Great, thank you, Precious. Over to you, James.
Hello. Yes, I'd echo all of those comments from the others. I think that the best way I can sum it up was that doing Wira for us was a bit like doing a mini MBA, or at least for me it was. It's quite interesting. Hospify is a remote team, and we've always been remote, which is helping us at the moment because we haven't had to do any kind of drastic things like shut our office during this crisis. But because of Wire, I got to spend 8-9 months in an office with some other people, which is quite nice and a nice change for me. So I usually work from home, and I don't really see my colleagues very much. So it was nice, and I got to build a bit of community there. And I think that one thing that Wire is really good for is putting you in and making you part of a network. And as Precious says, that's very much continued as even though we finished the program quite a long time ago now, I still feel really part of Wire, and you know, they continue to help us and advise us and link us up with people, and we do some stuff via Telefonica, and we reached out to other wirers in Spain and South America as we've started to think about, you know, selling Hospify abroad, and that's been great. And of course, you know, every time we go through a funding round, you know, wire or investors, so you know, we're in touch with the team there for tips and advice, and you know, that kind of thing, which is fantastic. In terms of the actual program itself, yes, I think, you know, it really was like doing a mini MBA. The quality of advisors and mentors and workshops that are laid on is quite exceptional, actually. And one of the nice things about Wire, I mean, you know, is Wire is that, you know, quite a lot of sort of these kind of programs can be quite prescriptive, but you know, it's very much made. In the atmosphere at Wire is very much, you know, you take what you want and you build your own kind of program about what's available. There's lots of stuff laid on, and it's quite flexible for you to put it together in the way that you want to put it together. And that's really refreshing as well, because one size does not fit all, and programs that are very prescriptive can end up being problematic. For us, I mean, it was you know, we really took advantage of the mentorship, and got really some incredible advice for free from people that we would never have been able to afford as mentors. And they, you know, very, you know, in terms of talking to investors, improving our investment proposition, structuring the business, you know, learning how to talk about the business and how to think about it, and what metrics to look for, and how to structure that, and how to, you know, project over 5 years or 10 years and present it in the right way. And a pitch as well. I mean, it's funny, you know, I thought I knew all about pitching when I started at Wire, and I realized I just knew nothing at all. And you can never pitch too much, you know. I mean, I think you're always pitching your business, you're always selling it. And the more practice you have, the better it is, because the more you can simplify your business in your own head, the better you run that business. And Wire is very big on that, and actually is really super helpful. And then from a sort of health point of view, I mean, and sort of the reason that we joined the program originally, I mean, I really didn't know about a lot of those things when we joined the program. I mean, they were talked about, but they're quite abstract. You don't really, you know, appreciate them until you've got them, and then you understand the value. At the time, you're just like, oh yeah, whatever, network, mentors, yeah, okay, fine. But I think why we applied to the program was the connection with the pharmaceutical company. When we did it, it wasn't Novartis. Previously, it was MSD, Merck Smith and Dome, and they were backing it. And so we sort of applied really because we wanted to get to work with them, and obviously, you know, the financial support and the offer support was also really helpful at the time. You know, we were struggling to start up with little resource, but through the program, you know, we got to spend a lot of time with MSD, and to understand, you know, the world as it, you know, how the world looks to a big pharmaceutical company, the pressures and the opportunities that they you know, are subject to, and that really helped for us to understand what Hospify might mean to a company like that. And although, you know, we didn't have a deal out of it yet, you know, again, some of the contacts that I built there are still continuing now. We went on to do, you know, quite a lot of just sort of networking and workshopping with MSD, and that really improved the quality of what we were trying to achieve as Hospify, and really helped me understand our proposition better and tailor it better. So, you know, and I've had some contact with Novartis, you know, through some of the events that were put on in the last sort of few months, and you know, I think Novartis are doing a great job, and are definitely bringing all of that kind of thing to the table as well, to the new cohorts. So I would definitely emphasise that aspect of the program as something that's really valuable.
Great, thanks everyone. I'm really pleased that you all touched upon the post program as well, because I think it's good to highlight that, you know, at Wire it's really important to build a community amongst all our different programs. So, you know, even once you finish the program, it's really important to make the cohort see that, you know, you're always part of the Wire family, and we're always going to be there to support in your, you know, in your business needs. So I think you've already, you know, touched upon this, but is there any, you know, other advice you'd give companies looking to join the program? Mel, over to you.
I think going into it with the right attitude is really important. So there's a ton of things that are given to you and thrown at you. I think the most important thing is to really be quite choosy about what you do and what you spend your time on, and making sure that you are choosing for the right reasons. But then again, on the other side of that, it's really be open to advice, to sometimes criticism, especially when pitching and getting your deck straight and understanding your go-to-market strategy, because these people have been around. So I think kind of words of advice, ultimately make the most of all the opportunities that are given to you, and it's an incredible time to be an entrepreneur in that environment and have that cohort of people that you build really strong relationships with. Use that to your advantage. Use the fact that you're at Wire, all the contacts that are potentially there for you, but just also make sure that you are choosing the opportunities based on your vision. It's easy to get sidetracked with a lot of different stuff, and I think it's important to maintain your vision and be true to yourself and to your business. And then I think, you know, we're all very privileged to have these opportunities, so I think making the most of it and really kind of expanding your horizons, expanding yourself, what you know, challenging yourself in all different areas is definitely one of the most really special things that I've done in a long time.
Well, I think, well, you've pretty much said most of it. I'll just add, which Mel already alluded to, is focus is still really important. To sort of remember, you know, why you're there, because it's really exciting, and there are a lot of opportunities to meet different people, different investors, and also you know, so others from you know, from all over the world, be they VCs or run companies, and so taking up those opportunities and really thinking through, okay, what have I learned? How can I apply it to my business? I think that's maintaining that focus means you'll get the most out of being part of the program. Additionally, I would say, you know, when we started, we were really focused on particular sort of component. We're really mostly focused on diabetes, actually, and by the end of the program, we'd expanded. Well, very early on, we expanded to include, you know, hypertension, becoming more of a health companion. So also keeping that openness when, you know, so when you get feedback on how, you know, how you can place your product is also something that I would recommend.
Hello. Yeah, I think that the key word from those two sort of answers that I pick up is focus. I mean, I think Vicky's question was about, you know, what companies who are pitching or to join the Wire program should think about. I think it's focusing on really the core of your business. Trying to, you know, startups, you know, can really suffer if they're trying to do too much. And I think being really clear about what your USP is, about what you do better than anybody else, what you're bringing to the table in what's usually quite a crowded marketplace, is really important. And when you're pitching to Wire, that's absolutely crucial. if people can't work out from your 3 or 6 minute or 15-minute presentation, whatever it happens to be, what it is that you're doing that's different, then you're not going to get anywhere. And it's really important to focus on that. And also then, as Precious says, and as Melinda said, you can then carry that focus into the program, because if you try and do everything, you will just get overloaded. You need to pick your shots within the program. It's quite a grown-up program. It's not a case of your hand being held. As I said before, there's a lot on offer. There's a huge amount that Wara can do for you. But if you don't know what you want, then there's no one there to tell you. So you need to know what you want, and then go ahead and kind of ask for it and grab the things that pass your radar, that look like they fit, and build your own experience around that. And I think if you do that, if you're active and you know what your company's about and where you're going, even if you don't know how you're going to get there, then you'll find that the program will be immensely helpful. And because that's what it's there for. It's the bit. It's filling in the bit. The answer to the question: how are we going to get there? I can't tell you where there is. Only you can tell. Only you can tell yourself that and work out what that is. Obviously, the destination changes as you become more knowledgeable and as you learn more about your sector and about your product and about your team. And that's a natural evolution, and as it should be. So your goals shouldn't be inflexible, but you should know what you're doing and what's unique about what you're trying to do, and what you're missing in terms of answers. So yeah, keep focused, keep it simple, play to your strengths, be yourselves, and then you'll find people are really helpful.
Great, well, thank you to all our panelists. Now we're going to move on to the live Q&A. So thank you to those who've already submitted questions. I can see most of them are around the investment of the programme. So if anyone wants to ask a question to the panelists or about the programme, just please submit your questions now, and we'll answer as many as we can within the time given. So Devika, I'm going to ask you to come back, because we've got a question around the amount and the terms of the investment provided by Wira for the Health Hub 2020.
Sure, no problem. So generally, the structure of our Wira investment is composed of cash and services, which is a standard kind of structure of investment across accelerators. And they come in via a convertible loan note, which will convert from the loan notes into shares by two methods. It can either be, if you are currently fundraising, it will convert at the time of your current fundraise. And if you're not fundraising at this moment in time, it will convert on a future date, on a maturity date, if not within 2 years. So essentially, you get investment of 34K, which is the cash, and then 34K, which is the services. A little bit about, I guess, what composes of the services and what that actually means. So it can differ, I guess, from cohort to cohort. So what one cohort might have with regards to those services can actually change. So it's not exactly in the same way, but we always ensure that our participants benefit equally from the services that we offer. Generally, those services consist of, you have space in our Soho headquarters, which is our Wira headquarters. So you get to be kind of amongst our main team. You have an incredible program lead, which is Lucy, and you have the support from the acceleration team. So you have myself, you have our portfolio director, you have the country manager. And also the biggest benefit is the access to the partners and their exec team, their leaders, their mentors in residence. So in this case, obviously the Novartis team, and we'll match you up with the right people within Novartis, ranging from support on marketing your product, quantifying and price pointing your product, and then also providing you access to the NHS. And we'll do that through a variety of ways. So in essence, our services, the way that I try to think of it is actually business development. So think of the services as a handheld business development expert to guide you through that 9-month program. And on the cash side, that's obviously the cash investment that you're able to use, which is, as I said, the convertible loan note. So yeah, I think that kind of answers the question. But one more question I always get asked is, what is the percentage that Wira looks at? Normally with CLNs, it's up to a maximum of 10%. So we'll never convert over a 10% amount. Obviously rounds can differ and valuations can differ. So that's generally our terms. And you have a lot more information about this on our website under our FAQs. And obviously feel free to contact myself or Nick if you want to ask any questions, and Lucy as well.
Yeah. So then the next question is around the involvement that Novartis provides, like how involved Novartis are within the program.
So Novartis being obviously the main partner, the aim is for them to be fully involved alongside us. So what that means is we will work with Novartis and the companies that are successful in this cohort throughout the entire process. Our programs consist of a three-stage process, so 3 stages. So we have what's called access, build and convert. When you first join our program, we sit down with the key NHS stakeholders that are part of the program, that have been designated to us, and we will look at your business as a whole. We'll almost sort of rip it apart and provide all the expertise and knowledge that we need in order to show how we can get you from A to B to C through the 9-month program. Novartis is with us on each step of the way. So Novartis' main aim there is to support your growth as a company, help you scale up in the NHS, and give you access to kind of the resources that you need in order to grow your solution. And obviously that can range from being able to sell it into the NHS, trying to price the model of your product, but also from that mentorship capabilities. So being mentored by some experts around health, digital solutions, and access to NHS.
Great, thank you. And we've also been asked if they're not looking to join for the investment at the moment, is it still possible to join the program?
Yep, so if you're not currently raising a round at this moment in time, we can still bring you onto the program, but we will, like I said, convert that CLN at a future date for when you do start raising. So a lot of our companies join and they're not actively raising a round at that moment, but that's why the beauty of the convertible loan note is so important, because obviously you can convert that loan note to convert at the time that you do raise.
We've got another question here that's just come through. What level of traction are you looking for from applicants?
So normally we like to have at least an MVP, because I think for us a 9-month program in general for any startup is you're going to get the most benefits out of it if you've actually got a product ready to go. With regards to kind of traction and proof in the marketplace, I think it's not fair to say come onto an accelerator and prove to us that you've actually built something viable and customers love you, because I think you're coming onto this accelerator to try and test and negotiate and navigate the NHS, and you might iterate your product massively and it might not be what you first came in for. So we are flexible in the sense of you don't need to really have set milestones, revenues, or kind of achieve targets that you've done. It's more about, do you have an MVP? Do you have a product that can work with the NHS? Do you fit those challenges that we've obviously put out? And are you at a stage where you can obviously come in and dedicate 9 months of your time to the program in order to get the most value out of it?
Great, thank you. I've got another one. What stages were the companies at when they joined?
So I guess that would be for the panelists. I think Mel alluded to being, Mel, were you were kind of post-seed when you joined?
No, we were actually seed. Yeah, we had taken a one check before. We had actually only launched that year, so we launched in January. We didn't have any revenue. We just had some traction with an MVP, which was at the time an email subscription service, and then we later launched an app. So we had proof points in that we had number of people who were signing up. We knew where to acquire those people, so we could prove that extrapolating that out and forecast what it would cost to get users and to keep them. And then we had sort of like other metrics like open rates, number of things that people were reading. Then we had NPS that we did, which was helpful. So any kind of other proof points that you can have if you don't have revenue, I think is always good. And it's really important to prove that you've got something that has traction already and that you've proven something, even if it's only a couple of things that you've already shown proof points for. But then equally, it's really important to understand what you still need to do. So having a very clear picture of what questions need to be answered, what your hypothesis is, potentially, you know, and also like obviously revenue streams, having thought that through. You can always change them, but I think going into something like this is really important to have an idea of how you're going to make money. I think the days of, oh, I'll just figure it out later are kind of long gone. I think you really need to understand what your revenue stream would be, if it's a supply and demand revenue, how are you going to work that through, what your go-to-market strategy would be for each of those things. So yeah, I think that's those are the most important things.
Cool, thank you. Lucy, do you want to, is there any more Q&A, or do you want to ask any more questions?
Yes, I think that's all the questions have come through now. So that's basically the end. We've done the time for the Q&A. We'll be posting this recorded session online for everybody to view. But for the last, I'm going to ask one more question to the panelists, which is around how you're managing your mental health as a founder during this critical time, and if there's any last tips that you can give to the audience before we end the session.
Okay, I'll go first. So I'm finding it quite, as I said, quite challenging. I'm an extrovert, so I make sure that I build into my day my normal routine, which is meditating in the morning. I'll still have my kind of normal routine that I do. I do some yoga. I make sure that I'm exercising every single day. I also make sure that in the evenings I switch off my computer at the normal time that I would. In fact, because I don't have the commuting time, I'm finding that working sort of 8 to 6, I'm getting a huge amount done, or even 9 to 6. So I think it's important to maintain physical activity, getting up, stretching every, getting outside, fresh air. I'm still maintaining kind of my gratefulness journal, gratitude journal, which is really important. Meditating every day. I know it sounds like a lot, but I mean, we've all got a lot more time now, so it's actually a really good time to kind of focus a little bit more on what's important, and the fact that, you know, our health is everything really, and our families and our loved ones. So for me, it's been like a really sobering experience, but I also think it's you know, there's always a silver lining. So that's it.
Thanks, Mel. Precious?
I've structured my day in the sense that the first thing I do in the morning is I do stretches, I do some exercises, and you know, some meditation around intention of positive intention towards the day. And I also yes, make sure that I connect to my loved ones. Make sure that I have a conversation. You know, I take a coffee break and I have a conversation, and then at lunchtime I'll also maybe speak to my sister or someone else. So it's really making sure that you know, maintaining those you know, sort of those personal connections, and I also have some out time, and I take a walk. So I actually have I do an hour's walk every day since you know, since we've been you know, pretty much locked down, and that's when I go out. And I have a dog, so my dog is always happy, so that's always a smiling face. So yeah, those are the things that I do.
Thanks, Precious. And over to you, James.
Yeah, I think that I think my experience is maybe a bit different. As I said earlier, you know, I work from home anyway, and Hospify is largely remote. And actually, I was a journalist before and a writer before I started this business, and I spent long stretches of time working from home, you know, years in some cases. So For me, my life hasn't changed much, but I think what's caught me by surprise is actually how stressful I've been finding it, even so, and how difficult to cope. I think that you know, since things really kicked off at the beginning of March, you know, there was a sort of 2.5 week period when I was literally at my desk from 8 in the morning to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning every day, non-stop. And then I didn't break for the weekend. I went straight through. We were so busy, I literally couldn't leave my desk. And you know, I had my wife was bringing me meals because I couldn't even go downstairs to eat. I mean, that's how busy we were. And it was really, really crazy. And while that, I think that for those 2 weeks, I sort of ran on pure adrenaline. What I'm finding then is that actually, as it started to get into the end of last week, I started to get very, very stressed out because I was just simply overdoing it. And unfortunately, part of that stress was because we were bringing on more team members. I brought on a head of operations, who was just somebody we were looking to hire anyway, and thank goodness we were, because we were able to switch him on. He's been brilliant. And then we've hired some other people, and they've started to take some of the weight off my shoulders, because I was really having to do, we were really tiny when this kicked off, and now we've kind of tripled in size already. So and that's really helped. And so actually I managed to take some time out over the weekend. I've got my kids at home here, so I've got a full family scene going on. My wife is having the same sort of stress that I've got, trying to get the kids to do their homework. I mean, I just before this call, I had to go and ask them to stop, you know, shouting, because you know they're always getting upset, they're very bored, and they're climbing the walls too. And I think so. After sort of 2 weeks of very intense life change, even though on a day-to-day basis my life hasn't really changed very much, to realise that we needed to put some structure in place, because otherwise we were all going to go crazy. And so, you know, what the others are saying is really important. You know, I'd actually spent far too much time in the chair. I usually do quite a lot of exercise. I usually run. I usually cycle everywhere to meetings. I don't really take public transport. I usually do a lot of yoga. I made sure I've started doing all that again. We took the kids out for a bike ride at the weekend. You know, I've been running 2 or 3 times a week. Did some yoga on Sunday, took some downtime, and I'm trying to get away from the computer now. I'm trying to get my hours down, you know, make sure I get to least something of an evening, even if I have to work till 9. Maybe try and stop around 9:30 and not work till midnight. You know, stop looking at my phone and just accept that, you know, I can't be on sort of 18 hours a day, because that, you know, I will not be able to see out this. This could be a very long haul. You know, we could be doing this for 3 weeks. It's highly unlikely. We're certainly probably going to be doing it for 3 months, and we could be doing it for 6 months or 9 months. So you know, it's really important to get that structure and make sure you look after yourself. I think exercise is key. You know, we've got the kids doing Joe Wicks in the morning. I don't do Joe Wicks, but I do try and go for a run. And you've got to get out. You've got to have that routine. Meditation or yoga can really help. Take those coffee breaks. You know, a bit of bending, stretching, 5 minutes a day. Exactly what Melinda says. If you're in an office, you've got to find that kind of getting up from your desk, wandering around, having a quick chat, substitute, not just be stuck in your chair. And delegate. You know, if you're running the company, you know, you've got to trust other people, and you've got to trust them more than ever. And actually, you know what, you can't micromanage via Zoom and Google Hangouts and Slack. You've got to basically tell people what to do and trust that they can do it. And one of the things I found, we had a bunch of students we were using as interns from UCL who've been helping us out at trade fairs and stuff like that, and learning a bit about Hospify. To pad out their CVs, but of course, you know, suddenly these guys, a lot of their lectures have been cancelled. They're having to work from home. Their courses have been put on hold, and so we've, you know, turned them into customer support staff. We've trained them up, given them a lot of responsibility, and they just blossomed, you know. And they've started to do all this stuff, you know, building widgets for their website, filling out AFAC, you know, running with the ball, and it's just brilliant to see. You know, that you can trust people, and that people are rising to the challenge. You know, all people, you know, people are amazing. And so I think that's one of the great things about the situation, is that you can hand the ball over to other people and trust them, and make sure you take some downtime for yourself, because otherwise you'll go crazy.
Great. Well, thank you to all our panelists and Devika, round of applause. So yeah, thank you all for joining. I'll now I'll send out note after this with details of how to apply and our email addresses in case you want to follow up with any other questions. But if you do go to our website, wira.uk, under the program section, and you'll see about the Health Hub, which will have the link to apply there. Thanks all for joining. Bye.